children, we are going to do the second chapter of the book Flamingo. And this chapter of the book Flamingo, and the chapter's name is Lost Spring. You know that Lost Spring stands for the stolen childhood. The childhood which was not there when it is not there in a person's life. It is lost, it is gone. Why is it so? Because it is talking about those children who have to work hard, who are child laborers, and they have to work to fend for themselves and to add to the family income. It is a lost spring, is a metaphor. It is a metaphor loss of childhood. There are millions of child laborers all over the world, and while they are still young, while they are still in their childhood, they have to become the partners in the livelihood of the family. And this is what it means, the lost spring. The innocence, the time when the child should be growing up, should be learning, that is all lost, and they have to, at a very young age, they have to become very mature. Spring stands for something. Spring stands for something which is bloom, something which is grow up, something which will flower into a better thing. But here there is no spring in their life because of the poverty they are born into, and they have to work hard, they have to mature, they have to labor hard to be the partners in the livelihood and the survival of the family and for themselves. Now here we are going to do some of the notes. I am going to give you some of the notes here in very short. We are going to discuss about the chapter in point wise. The first thing is that the author's encounter. When we start, this chapter is divided into two parts. It's a story about two boys. One is Saheb Alam, who is a refugee from Bangladesh, and the other is about Mukesh, who is working as a child into a family business out of which he earns nothing. The first part is that about Saheb Alam, a refugee from Bangladesh. Now, where does the first point that this is in form of a note making, the first encounter of the author with Saheb. Meets rag pickers near her house, near the garbage dump. She meets the rag pickers. They are all refugees from Bangladesh. Second point is that she questions them that why they are rag picking, why they have taken up this rag picking, because they are young children. Instead of going to school, doing something else, staying back at home, they have to scourge the garbage piles, and as a result they fall ill, or they are into it, a work which is not meant for young children. She advises them to go to school. She promises to open a school, and the boy says, Saheb says that there's no school around his house. That is why he's not going to school. He's keen to go to school, but because there are no houses, so he's not going to school. So the author Anis Jung, she promises to open a school and asks that if she opens a school, will he go, and he readily agrees to it. Now a few days later, she meets this boy Saheb once again, and at once he comes running to her to ask her if the promise which she had made about the school, is the school open, and she feels embarrassed making a hollow promise. Now, irony in the name and existence. Name of Saheb is Saheb Alam, which means the Lord of the universe. And this is so ironical. His name is the Lord of the universe, but he doesn't own anything. He doesn't even get two square meals a day. He doesn't even know that he doesn't even have a proper roof over his head. He does not know when his next meal is going to, or what is going to happen with him. He is deprived of even the basic needs. He has to scourge the garbage. He has left with nothing else, so he scourged the garbage to find food and things for himself. Barefoot boys reflected extreme poverty, and all the boys, they early morning, like a flock of birds, they used to come there, scourge the garbage, and by afternoon they would leave. And most of the boys in this, they were barefoot, and this being barefoot reflected the extreme poverty in which these boys were. Now with the passage of time, the degree of prosperity achieved. Here the poet wants to show us that with passage of time, there's a degree of everyone tries to do well in his lifetime, and some little signs of prosperity comes into their life. Here she gives an example. She gives the episode of the Udupi episode, and reminded, and when she looks at these barefoot boys, she is reminded of a story or something that would happen with her. Reminded of the priest of Udupi 30 years ago. 30 years ago she had been to Udupi and she saw a priest there longing for a pair of shoes. And that priest, most probably he wanted a pair of shoes. A young boy in that town, he prayed to God for a pair of shoes. And he prayed to God that let no one take away his shoes. And 30 years later, when she visits this place, she finds that it has changed quite a lot. A boy of the same age, he comes to this family and he is dressed in school uniform, wearing his shoes and other things properly dressed. So this shows that 30 years later, the little boy's prayers are answered. There is prosperity in this place now, and this little boy is with shoes. But rag pickers still got no shoes. But still, the rag pickers, there is no prosperity in their life, there has been no change in their life, and the rag pickers still roam about without shoes. Now we come to the next point, that where do these rag pickers live? These rag pickers lived in Simapuri. They did not have a house of their own, a place of their own. So they lived in Simapuri on the periphery of Delhi, but miles away from it. It was just on the outskirts of Delhi, but as such it was very, very far away from Delhi, meaning that Delhi was a very developed place. It had it was the center of political activities, all the leaders and everything, all the law making, all the change making came from Delhi. But a place, Simapuri, just on the periphery, on the border of this place, had nothing there. It was bereft of all amenities, or even the basic amenities. Dwellings of mud, no sewage or running water. Only ration card to get grain. And why they had only the ration card? And this ration card had been made so that they could get grain, buy some grain from the ration shops, and they had these ration cards so that they could vote. They could be called a citizen of this place and they could vote. But otherwise they did not have anything else. Yet they were happy to live in the strange land with food than in their own land without food. They were happy to live in this strange land. They had run away, they had come away from Bangladesh, and they had come to this place. This place did not offer them much, but yet it offered them food, which was more than enough for them, because this food was also not, it was not very certain. They were not very certain that they would get this food there. Rag picking means survival. For elders, it was a treasure. For elders, it was a means of survival, but for the children, it was a treasure hunt. So the only thing, they were not educated, they did not have any type of qualification and all. So the only thing was left that they become rag pickers. All the elders of that place and the youngsters, everyone went in for rag picking. For the elders, it was a means of survival, but for the children, it was like a treasure hunt. They looked into it to find something new, to find something exciting there, to find a few coins from the garbage piles. Saheb's longing for childhood. Like all other children, Saheb also had a longing for a period of childhood, for that childhood where he would relax, he would play games and go to school and be dressed properly like other children. But this was just a longing. Often he used to stand outside the lawn, the tennis lawn court, and watch the people playing, the young children and the other people playing tennis. Watches rich children play tennis there wearing shoes. And one day the narrator finds him standing there outside the gate wearing a shoes with a hole in it. But he was so unmindful of the hole as long as he had shoes on his feet. So this is the whole story. Later he joins finds a new vocation for himself. he joins a shop, a tea shop, where he works at a tea stall from morning till evening, late night. He has to serve tea, clean the glasses and all that, and he gets good enough money for it, earns about 800 per month. But yet that carefree look is not there on his face. He appears burdened and forlorn. Why? Because earlier, whenever there was no fixed time for his work. He could go and work whenever he wanted, whatever time he wanted, with whomever he wanted. There was no binding for him. But here he is bound with this 800 rupees. He has to do exactly what what his shopkeeper tells him to do, and he does not have a free will at all. So he appears to be burdened and forlorn. Though he is getting the money, but yet he has lost his freedom. No freedom now. The steel canister weighs heavier than the rag picking bag. The steel canister in which he brings the milk, in which he buys the milk to the shop, and that seems to be heavier than his rag picking, because that was his own. It was on his free will. Whenever he wanted to do, whatever time he wanted to do, wherever he wanted to go, he would do it. Whenever he wanted to rest, whenever he did not want to work, he would do that. But here he was bound to this with 800 rupees. This 800 rupees was like shackle to his legs, and that had bound him to the shop, and he could not use his free will. He did not have the freedom to do according to his wish, and as a result, his canister was heavier than his rag picking bag, and he was unhappy. But this is what his life continued to be. So this is a story, this is an account that Anis Jung puts before us. And whenever we see around us, we will see number of boys like Saheb-e-Alam all around us who are into this kind of job, who are child laborers, only because they have to contribute to the income of the family, only because they have to look after they have to be a partner in the income of the family. That is why many a times when we can see those boys working in those shops, in our homes, as domestic helps and all, we can see that how unhappy they are. Beside the look which they gave of obedience, of the look which they gave of happiness, behind that facade there is something which makes them unhappy, something that they would like to go back to their family, to the village. And the present scenario has showed us what we are facing today because of this calamity, because of this pandemic. It has shown us that how all these laborers who were working in different towns and cities, how the first, as soon as they were struck by this pandemic, the first thing they wanted to was to come back to their home where they could be with their people. Because a home means always a freedom. And though you earn money, though you earn a livelihood, but you do not have the freedom. And this is what is shown in this first part of the Lost Spring. Thank you very much. I hope this helps you to understand the chapter. Thank you.